Okay, this is Tampa Comprehensive Plan Amendment 21-12. It is Robles Park. It's located in the Central Tampa Planning District, the Tampa Heights Urban Village, and the Tampa Heights neighborhood. Here's an aerial of the subject site. It's south of East Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard and east of North Florida Avenue. As you know, there's a variety of commercial uses along North Florida Avenue. This is a church to the south, and then we also have some single family detached to the south as well. And then the lake to the south of the site is Robles Park, the park itself, not the community. So the request before you is privately initiated. It is a small scale amendment under the new state acreage change. Small scales are anything less than 50 acres. This is 30.03 acres from residential 35 to community mixed use 35. I do have some site pictures. This is the subject site along East Lake Avenue. I have the subject site internally. This is the intersection of East Lake Avenue and North Avon Street faces north.
Project, the inclusion of the property for density purposes allows us to utilize that land to achieve densities to maximize the benefit to the affordable housing project and also the mixed use project, and then also facilitate being able to fund preservation efforts for the Zion Cemetery. Part of the project includes a museum, a memorial for the Zion, and expansion to protect that in working with adjacent property owners whose property is affected by the Zion discovery. So I think, looking at it from a land use perspective, I think maybe it's premature at this time to designate it as such for the purposes of moving the project forward, but it may be something once the preservation effort is underway, they're able to get the museum in place, acquire some of that private land, that may be the appropriate land use to make sure that it's preserved in perpetuity. It will also be part of any rezoning activity, at least in the property we control, moving forward with a redevelopment of Robles Park. There are other members of the development team that are on the line and signed up for the applicant that dealt with the master plan and more specific. But that's the general response to your question, and I hope that helps. If not, there will be others that can answer more specifically your question.
Any questions for the gentleman?
So, Mr. Smith, we've got approximately 30 acres total under the Housing Authority control. What percentage or how many acres or less than an acre or whatever are we talking about for Zion that's within the Housing Authority property?
Dave Del Tasto's, as you can see on the screen over on the right-hand shoulder with Baker Burroughs Architects, it's about an acre. That's actually within the boundary of the property. And there's likely more of it outside on other private properties.
Yeah, well, I'm not worried about outside tonight.
Yeah.
Because that's not in front of us.
Yeah.
So that makes a significant difference in terms of your densities and out. I mean clearly we all know you're not going to be building on top of Zion, but you need that for your density calculations and everything to do what you're going to do elsewhere.
Well, since part of the master plan effort is to preserve Zion, the development risk to the property in our moving forward, it isn't really a reality. It's going to be preserved. We think that putting recreation open space on a piece of the property now before we go through the final development plans and try to incorporate a master plan that includes those other properties adjacent to us would be premature.
Well, perhaps I'd feel more comfortable if I had your and your client's assurance that when all is said and done, that the Housing Authority will circle back and do a comp plan amendment for that sacred area. And whether, obviously that might be another year or 2, 3 down the road, But just for consistency's sake, you know, we just were over at Woodlawn, and that's the reason we did it at Woodlawn, that's the reason we did it downtown, et cetera, recreation open space. So I'm okay with it tonight. I understand where you're coming from tonight, but perhaps by second reading, you can give us assurances the Housing Authority will come back and do a comp plan amendment for that small little Zion parcel. And there's Miss Susan Johnson Velez raising her hand.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, may I be recognized?
You may recognize.
Thank
I'm sorry.
I said maybe there's a difference between a condition or just a verbal assurance, some sort of moral assurance or whatever, and
Mr. Dingfellow, excuse me.
we can
Have
rely on that.
Have you seen the Robles Park plan yet? Have you seen this?
No, I haven't seen it, and I trust it's going to be done. I trust it's all wonderful. I'm just saying, from a consistency perspective, we've just spent a year going through all of our parks to make sure they're in recreation open space. We've got 3 cemeteries to make sure they're in recreation open space, and we do that for good reason. So here's another opportunity. I'm not trying to hold this one up tonight, and Susan, I'm not trying to, you know, to make them condition their approval. All I'm asking is perhaps they can give us some verbal assurance a couple of weeks from now to say, by the way, we hear you, and we're glad to do that down the road.
Just if I might, I think we'll speak with the Housing Authority. I mean, I think it will be clear when the PD amendment comes through with the property that it will be preserved, and then at that point in time, when we actually have it on paper for everybody to see the boundaries and what's involved, that may be a great time for us to formally demonstrate that, yes, we're going to follow through with an amendment to put that in an open space category. But between now and second reading, I'll discuss that with the Tampa Housing Authority and get back to you.
Yeah, either that or a deed restriction or something like that.
That's fine. I did see the drawings of it where they've mapped out the cemetery area over there. It looks real nice how they're going to monument it over there. So hopefully they can concur with that. Anyone else for
Jennifer had her hand up.
Ms. Malone? You're recognized for his plan and how they're going to look at Central Avenue. They've already tried to acquire properties along Central to do just what you're talking about. I think it will be a great change for that area. Anyone else on the second floor, Ms. Debbie?
No, that's all.
Anyone registered for this item? Anyone registered for this item?
Yes, we have one registered speaker.
All right, we'll hear the speaker.
We have Mr. Michael Randolph. The only thing is he does not have video capability. So being that this is a non-quasi item, if I'm correct, Attorney Shelby, is he okay to speak?
I would think so, yes.
All right.
All right, Mr. Randolph, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you very much. First, I want to start off by thanking the city planning and county planning because I had some technical difficulties in order to get on. Both of those entities were definitely helpful for me getting on this particular platform. I do live on Virginia and Moore Avenue. The cemetery in question is right down the street from me. The cemetery and what's going to happen to the cemetery is part of the Robles Park master plan. That's a master plan that has been put together. And part of that strategy is looking at what happened to that cemetery. And there was a lot of meetings with the committee to make a decision on that. So related to that cemetery, I'm glad you brought that up. But Housing Authority is very good in including folks to determine what happens on that property. Let's talk about present day Robles Park. They have multi-program services there, which is good. But there's crime, people don't feel safe, buildings are separating, and there's a lack of technology. Meaning that if you want to put a hotspot up for people to connect to the internet, you can't do that because the buildings are too old. Let's go to Future Day. They're going to have multi-service program again. Crime is going to be reduced. They're going to be technologically connected. It's going to have an impact on improving on the larger Tampa Heights area. It's going to increase affordable housing. It's going to increase economic development in the community. And because of the strategy they're using, it's going to decrease the economic divide when it comes to wealth in the community, because they are going to have programs goes towards teaching residents how to own their own business. So at the end of the day, I'm in total support of this plan. If you live here in Robles Park, you know the condition we live under. Nobody should live under these conditions. The current proposed, and everybody know Housing Authority is good at what they do. The final product, it's going to be just like if it was doing it in South Tampa. That's the quality they put to their work. So having said that, and I didn't mean to take too much time, I'm in total agreement with that. Actually, I wish they duplicated throughout the city. I know they're doing an awesome job in West Tampa, but I wish it was done throughout the city. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else registered?